What's up, my comic comrades? The world of comics is full of incredible heroes and villains with amazing and very cool powers and abilities. But there is also a flip side, because over the years, a pretty significant number of characters have been introduced that have some of the dumbest power sets imaginable. In fact, some of them are so horrifically awful that they have actually managed to defy the odds and win fans over. And those are the characters we're saluting in this episode, because by God, they've earned it. So let's jump in. First up, we have the mutant Skin, a member of Generation X. As his name implies, his mutant ability involves his skin. Skin has 6 feet of extra skin, which over the years he's learned to use for an array of different things. He uses his extra skin to cover objects or mold it into different faces so he looks like a different person. Now you may be saying, so his power set is kind of like Plastic Man or Mr. Fantastic. No, he cannot stretch his bones, his muscles, or any other organ on his person. He only has 6 feet of extra skin, which he uses to manipulate in creative ways to his benefit. It's nothing like controlling the weather, having a healing factor, possessing telepathy, or anything of the sort. He just has 6 feet of skin that he's managed to put a positive spin on, thinking of clever uses for it, like manipulating it like clay to a certain extent. But no one is asking for this superpower. Sticking with another mutant who has a dumb power, and trust me, there's gonna be a lot, we have Egg. Yeah, his superhero name is Egg. His real name is Fabio Medina, and he's a new mutant that was recruited by Cyclops for the Revolutionary X-Men. He has the superhuman ability to create solid balls from his body that he could use as projectiles. Said balls that come from his body are gold. Because of this, one of his nicknames is Gold Balls. I could not make this up, people, but clearly someone did. Now, even though the balls are gold, we're not sure if they're actually made of gold or they're just colored gold. We do know that his balls are not prone to popping, which is good because you don't want your balls popping. He's got tough balls that don't bust. What I'm saying is, you're not busting his balls. Anyway, his balls are also able to bounce. Those things bounce like a super ball from a 50-cent machine. Now, unlike most males, his balls come from anywhere on his body. He can throw those bad boys in a straight line or direct them wherever he needs them to be. He can also summon as few as he wants or as many as he wants to overwhelm enemies. But don't worry, when he calms himself, the balls disappear. They just vanish. What it all comes down to is Egg is a master of his balls. You take that as you wish. Next up, we have the mutant known as Bailey Hoskins, who quite possibly has the worst superpower ever, because if he ever decided to use his superpower, he would die. His power is the ability to detonate himself like a human, or rather a mutant bomb. The problem is, if he was ever to do this, since he is the bomb, he would kill himself. So this is literally the definition of the most useless superpower ever, because he can't use it without dying. If he could create bombs or turn objects into bombs like Gambit, that'd be extremely useful and a fun power. But as for Bailey, he is the bomb himself, so if he ever lights that wick, so to speak, he goes bye-bye. But side note, do you think his friends ever compliment him by being like, "You're the bomb, Bailey, you're the bomb"? Right there, low-hanging fruit. Now, with all that said, Bailey having the worst superpower ever makes him very interesting. And it's even explored very well in his 5-issue miniseries called X-Men Worst X-Man Ever. In issue 5 of the series, he even uses his power to kill the douchebag Lord Riches, who just invited Bailey to a party at the Empire State Building just to pick on him. And while on one of the roof decks of the Empire State Building, Riches says to Bailey, "I think in the end, even you realize you are pathetic. I just invited you here because I could, so you could finally freaking admit it." He then grabs Bailey by the shirt saying, "Say it, I don't have a unique thing to offer." Bailey responds while his eyes ignite saying, "Well, there is one thing though," as he finally uses his power to kill Riches and himself, taking out the whole top of the Empire State Building in the process. So his power is pretty stupid, probably the worst one ever. His book is literally called The Worst X-Men Ever, but he did use it to get some pretty epic revenge. And speaking of revenge and things that are gloriously awful, do any of you remember Jaws the Revenge from 1987? It's so bad, but the original Jaws is so good that you can't help but watch it. In fact, our friends over at Stern Pinball found out about our love of the original Jaws and sent over their brand new Jaws pinball machine for us to show you guys, and this thing is amazing. Today's sponsor, Stern Pinball, has taken everything we love about the movie and put it into this dope game, packed full of incredible nods to the Spielberg classic. It's the Jaws game we never knew we always wanted. The game also features a ton of video clips from the film and has a custom speech from Richard Dreyfuss, all while John Williams' terrifying and iconic Jaws theme brings the tension. To give you an idea of how good the gameplay is, a shark fin crosses the center of the playfield after you've hit the chum bucket enough times. Then you'll see the LED effect of the blood in the water underneath the cutout in the playfield. You can even battle the infamous Great White himself with Stern's Shark Bash toy in the middle of the playfield. I'm telling you, you're going to need a bigger game room. The Jaws game is also loaded with physical and digital Stern technology. There's also ongoing code updates for Stern that constantly improve the game experience. And through Stern's insider connected apps for iOS and Android, online functionality extends the game experience across multiple sessions to complete in-game updates objectives to earn shark teeth to play special challenge modes. You gotta check this thing out. Just visit sternpinball.com/game/Jaws or use our link in the description below to find out where to get your game on. Now, jumping to the next hero with a gloriously dumb superpower, we have the Almighty Dollar. The Almighty Dollar is a character from the Marvel Universe created for the Marvel Super Pro 12-issue miniseries, first appearing in issue 10 with the ability to shoot pennies from his wrist. I repeat, his superpower is the ability to shoot pennies from his wrist. And while using his power, he says things like, apparently, I can throw money at my problems. You can't get more on the nose than that. Speaking of, his real name is J. Pennington Pennypacker. So of course, his superpower would be shooting pennies. But let's be real, as dumb as this power is, all he's got to do is fill up buckets with pennies, then take it to the bank and cha-chang. So theoretically speaking, if he keeps doing this on a regular basis, he could become a millionaire. So I mean, it's not that bad. But if they were silver dollars, it'd be a lot easier, and they're bigger, which could hurt people more easily. Moving along, we have yet another mutant named Longneck. He was a background character in several X-Men books, and his ability is that he has an extra long neck that his mutant biology can support. So I guess his ability is being able to always have a good view in crowds. Man, a lot of these are even dumber when you say it aloud. Moving along, we have a Silver Age character from DC Comics called Color Kid. He has the ability to change the color of anything he wants. Now, why do I feel like in 2024, this would be a very problematic power? I can't even give the examples I'm thinking of without YouTube's flags going off. But like, you feel me. Anyway, I pose all of you a question. If Color Kid was to, let's say, turn an orange red, is it still an orange or is it a red? What I'm saying is, it's a very problematic power. But if Color Kid wanted to be an interior decorator or just paint houses for a living, he'd be a millionaire. Think of how quickly he can get houses and buildings painted, interior, exterior, whatever. I'm just saying, with this ability, forget being a superhero. You could be the world's best painter or artist. That's where it's at. Now, I know these are all stupid points, but hey, these are stupid superpowers. That's the point of the episode. Next up, we have Bouncing Boy, who is a member of the Legion of Superheroes in the DC universe. Bouncing Boy's powers are exactly as his name implies. He's essentially able to inflate himself into a giant ball and bounce around like a giant ball. He's actually not that obscure of a character. He's appeared in Justice League Unlimited, Superman the Animated Series, and Superman and the Legion of Superheroes. So he's made quite a few animated appearances, but nonetheless, his power is utterly ridiculous. He's a human bouncy ball. This all happened when he accidentally drank an experimental plastic formula that changed his body, giving him the ability to bounce and ricochet all over the place like a ball. Now, even though his power is utterly ridiculous, Chuck, which is his real name, is a very likable character with a good sense of humor, so it's actually kind of fun even though the power is stupid. Imagine someone asking you what your superpower is and you're like, bouncing around like a ball. It may be fun to bounce around, but I feel like you're more of a circus act than a superhero. All in all, even though the character is likable, it's an incredibly dumb power. Next up, we have Zeitgeist. We actually saw him briefly in Deadpool 2, and his whole mutant ability is spitting up acid. So since we've all seen him in Deadpool 2, we already know how ridiculous and dumb this power is. But for me at least, the crazy thing is how he found out he has this mutant ability. You see, in X-Force issue 116, on the very first page, we see him as a drunk teenager on the beach with his lady friend. So essentially, he got so drunk one night while hooking up with a girl that he threw up on her, spewing his corrosive acid all over her face, disfiguring her. That is crazy. But I mean, as gross as this power is, like it's not going to be a first-round pick for a superpower, it does have its advantages. Like you could easily just spit up on someone you have a problem with, or if a villain has you restrained, you could spit up on said restraints to dissolve them. Again, it's gross, kind of dumb, but it's a bit practical. Moving along, let's get back to Marvel, where we have Eye-Boy. He's a member of X-Factor who was originally a student at the Jean Grey School, and his power is having eyeballs all over his body. Now, I'm just gonna say it, having eyeballs all over your body, like your legs, arms, chest, etc., would be extremely annoying and gross. However, as dumb and weird as it would be to have eyes all over your person, the power itself is actually kind of useful. With this power, Trevor, or Eye-Boy, can use all his eyes to see electricity flow and energy signatures and an array of stuff that the normal eye can't see. So like a few other power sets on this list, while I would never choose to have that ability, I suppose it is useful. Now, we couldn't make a list of superpowers and abilities that are thought to be dumb without mentioning Aquaman's ability to talk to fish. This is one of those powers that is joked about all the time, even within DC's own universe, but I personally don't think it's that dumb of a superpower. It's kind of a joke now, but I feel like this is a really cool power and one that's been demonstrated to be extremely useful. Aquaman on more than one occasion has commanded all sorts of sea life to his aid. I mean, we're talking about a guy who controlled the damn Kraken. How is that stupid? That's awesome. Or what about in Justice League issue 4 from the New 52, where he commanded an army of great white sharks to jump out of the water and eat Darkseid's parademons? I'm sorry, I just don't see it. The ability to talk to sea life is an awesome power and has been used for some of the most badass moments in DC. Now, we've talked about this next character on the show a long time ago, and that's because it is top 3 dumbest powers I've ever heard of, and that says something. Of course, I'm talking about Arm Fall Off Boy. He is quite frankly one of the most ridiculous characters ever created. A rendition of him was actually used in James Gunn's Suicide Squad, played by Nathan Fillion, renamed TDK, the Detachable Kid. If you've seen the Suicide Squad, you know exactly where this is going because TDK has the same exact power as he's based off of Arm Fall Off Boy. Arm Fall Off Boy has the ability to detach his arms, at which point he beats people with his own arm. Yeah, he takes off his arm and then hits people with it. That's the whole thing. And then on top of that, his design is utterly ridiculous. Why does he look like that? What's on his arms? Is it some kind of skin disease? And why do his legs look like the Thing? I just have so many questions. I mean, it's funny for sure, and it was awesome to see a version of this in James Gunn's Suicide Squad, but man, the power itself is really dumb. Sometimes you just gotta make a dumb superpower for comedic sake, and that's exactly what this is. Speaking of comedic sake, we have Matter Eater Lad from the Legion of Superheroes. He has the ability to eat and consume anything, all matter, which is very dumb, but could also be very useful because he could eat any matter, even the most indestructible matter. Because of this, if he had to get rid of someone or break something indestructible or just get rid of something that's crazy, all he has to do is eat it. Here's another popular one, and it's Squirrel Girl. Her real name is Doreen Green, and she has several squirrel-like superpowers, but her claim to fame is being able to talk to and command squirrels. It is completely silly, yet somehow one of the best of the worst superpowers ever, much like Aquaman's ability to communicate with and command sea life. Now, not as cool, at least I don't think so, but Squirrel Girl's ability to talk to squirrels has proven powerful enough to defeat one of the greatest comic book villains of all time, Dr. Doom, as seen in Marvel Superheroes issue 8. In the issue, she commands squirrels to swarm and eventually overwhelm Doom, with him even saying, "Doom will never be defeated, not like this." But he was wrong because he gets to the point where it becomes too much for him and eventually runs off into a lake to get the squirrels off of him. So Squirrel Girl was able to defeat Dr. Doom with squirrels. It is incredibly silly and odd, but hey, she soloed Dr. Doom with this power, which is not something many heroes can say. So for all of her power stupidity, it's apparently very useful. But this brings us to the last of the best worst superpowers we're going to mention, and it comes from a character called Ice Cream, who has the ability to turn into ice cream. That's it. That's the whole power. The ability to turn into ice cream. I don't see how this would be remotely useful unless you wanted to eat a yummy treat and you're like, no problem, let me turn into ice cream and then you could eat me. The only problem with that is that someone would be eating you. Although, I guess he technically found a way for this power to be beneficial, as he's a master escape artist, being able to escape through the smallest cracks and holes in the form of ice cream. But because his power is turning into ice cream, this also meant his suit had to double as a refrigerator. Now, no matter how you slice it, this power is hilariously lame and was clearly created as a gag and meant to be silly on purpose because just wow. But there we have it, my comic comrades, the best of the worst superpowers, and man, there were some doozies. Let us know which your favorite is down in the comments. Other than that, we will see you next time when we talk about all things comics.